All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, can we take a quick moment to talk about the presidential debate? First of all, just what was that? Just why? Just if I had words to describe what we had, or some of us had to sit through on Tuesday night, I don't even have words. I just have That's all I got. Like, true story. When I was in Italy and growing up, we had to learn Italian in one of our classes. It was this class called Host Nation, and we had this teacher named Signora Salviati. And so there would be moments in the class where you weren't allowed to speak English, and you could only speak Italian. But we're only like 8 years old, and I had just moved there from America, so I ain't know no Italian. So every time I would say something in English, he'd just go, every time. Can I go to the... And then, I'm trying to ask to go to the bathroom, but I don't know how to say that mess in Italian. I just moved here 2 weeks ago. So that's what I have for the debate. Man, and to be honest, I already personally felt that there wasn't a need for the debate because people, in my opinion, have already made up their minds with who they want to support, who they want to vote for or vote against, or who they don't want to support. That's been locked in, locked, ready, and loaded a long time ago. I understand that the debates are more so for the undecided voter, but at this point, this close to the election, what are you still undecided about? I just think that at this point, people would be in a capacity to make up their minds with what they really want based on the actions of both candidates in the past and in the present. And so I'm just like, really? And then on top of that, we got to do this 2 more times? Okay. I mean, because if it's anything like the last debate where it was like watching somebody try to sprint at the deep end of the pool, knowing you're just never going to get anywhere because it's like you're just going, but you're going against the water, just forget it. Like, that's what that crap was all about as far as what I had to sit through and witness. You know what I mean? Just absolutely crazy. And I had a few different beefs with the debate. Let me start with Chris Wallace before I get to Donald Trump and Joe Biden. With Chris Wallace, one, I understood that Donald Trump was just already just on level 10 to begin with, so there wasn't going to be much leverage you were going to get as far as getting him to kind of chill out. I understood that, but even then, some of the questions I thought were poorly worded. There was a question in there, and it was a question centered around, I want to say, police brutality and even the civil unrest and the uprisings of the protests, or some people want to call them riots. The issue I had with that specific question, I wish I would have went back and got a quote of it, but the question is worded in a way where you would have to make the assumption that everybody 100% agrees that the police are always 100% correct in everything, and that all protesters are violent and all protesters are at fault for all the violence that took place, and that none of the burnings or anything that happened were provoked by the police, and it was all on the aggression of the protesters, and that these marches and these movements are violent terrorist groups. Like, literally, you would have to agree with that sentiment in order to answer the question that was asked or how it was presented. So I was like, why was the question presented in that way? So that was strike one. And then, of course, I was looking at both candidates trying to see, let me see how they're going to answer this one. I already knew how one was going to answer, but I was looking at the other like, let me see what you're going to say on this one. But there was that. And then also, sometimes he didn't do a good job of following up. One of the craziest bits was when he was talking to Trump about the rallies. And, Trump had said, well, my rallies are safe and we do them outside and blah, 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 blah. Because, of course, this is the conversation around COVID. But then I just knew Chris Wallace was going to follow up and say, well, you did do the rally in Tulsa, and Herman Cain did go to that rally and then contract COVID and then die. So, do you want to answer to that one? I thought there would be some follow-up, about that. And there were a few other things where I was just like, I don't know. Oh, and then even the question with the sensitivity training, where, it's saying, you're talking about all this about race, but then you pretty much stripped down and said there's not going to be any more sensitivity training in any federal government agencies. And then Trump's response was, well, I think it's racist. I just knew there was going to be a follow-up as to, well, can you expound upon why you think it's racist? Trump said he felt it was racist because there were some groups that felt that they were better than others or some other crap, but I would have made him go even further. Like, I need you to go a little bit deeper. And really the question should have been, okay, well, let's look at the number of complaints that come out of the offices when it comes to discriminatory practices. Let's talk about, the lawsuits that come out of people who are sick of working in the government and they leave or whatever. Like, can we have those conversations? What are the numbers? So there wasn't a lot of follow-up sometimes. There wasn't a lot of fact-checking. There were a lot of things where sometimes candidates said something very questionable and then they got away with it. There wasn't any follow-up. And I did think at one moment in the beginning, I thought the debate might actually be decent because there wasn't an audience. And I felt that without an audience there, the candidates are very exposed and open and vulnerable. You know what I mean? You don't have your audience or your base in there to gas you up and, drown out the other candidate just to kind of make you elevate a little bit higher. Literally, the focus would have been on just the points, the talking points, the substance, and what it is that they're standing for in regards to their platform. But clearly that went down the drain right off the bat. So I was like, well, there goes that. And so a lot of the points, in my opinion, got lost in the chaos, which is really the bigger beef with this debate is like, one, I don't know what they were gonna have to do with Orange Man. Like, bruh, relax. Jeez, like every 2 seconds he was interrupting Joe Biden, and they already have two very different delivery methods. So it was a lot. And what I found funny, especially with the president, was that, he kept trying to paint Joe Biden to be this left-wing extremist radical. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the candidate. Like, literally, this debate was an extremity of one side and somebody who's a bit more moderate. But they kept trying to paint the moderate guys to be like the big socialist. I was like, Joe Biden, okay, you say so. All right. At this point, a lot of people are supporting Joe Biden just because they want Trump out. So there's that. But, it was very interesting to see that. And as far as all the interruptions, I'm not going to lie. I think everybody was like, can we mute the mics? Do something. Somebody said we should just start electrocuting them when they interrupt. But I was like, they too old for that. Somebody might not make it back from that. So that's probably not a good idea. And that's no disrespect to the older people. I'm just saying, too many shocks may not be a good thing. Plus, shock therapy, that's a terrible idea. But, I don't know. It was utter chaos. I don't think either side benefited from the debate. I think it did more damage to probably the Trump side, but I don't think it helped anybody. And it doesn't really lead to any kind of real conversation. A lot of the actual arguments, the tangibles, we didn't get to any of it. It was chaos. And I feel like the debate just ended early. Like, normally, I swear at the end of the debate, normally the candidates speak for 2 minutes or 3 or 4 minutes about America and what they're going to do, and they talk about their plan and all that. Chris Wallace was just like, we're going to thank y'all, good night. It was 10:38, it went off. I was like, my DVR thing says it's supposed to stay on until 11, so what happened? But I don't know, just absolute chaos. And then even with the denouncing of the white supremacy, because I saw a lot of people were furious about that. And where I stood on it, this may sound crazy, but for me, what does denouncing white supremacy actually mean for somebody like a Donald Trump? His actions already show where he stands on all of that. And what I mean by that is all of the racist policy, the racist cabinet, all of that, that's already there. All of the, even with the whole cutting the racial sensitivity training, he pretty much already shows you where he stands on that. So to me, him standing there and saying, oh, white supremacy is bad doesn't mean anything to me because, again, the actions are showing the opposite. It's almost like when the whole situation happened with Iran and they went and blew up all that stuff at the beginning of the year and everybody was nervous because we were like, oh God, it's about to be another war. And then he goes on a press conference and he's like, we want peace. We want peace. And I'm like, you just blew up some stuff yesterday. What you talking about? Like, okay, very peaceful. You go and shoot up some targets, I guess, and then, upload a very pixelated picture of the American flag just to kind of rub it in a bit. And now all of a sudden you want peace. All right, like the actions don't align. So I was just kind of like, no. And even if he were to denounce it, that doesn't stop all of his, at this point, he had like a freaking cult. That doesn't stop all of them from feeling how they feel. Donald Trump denouncing white supremacy does not stop racism in America. It will not stop the hate groups. If anything, it will empower them because they're going to feel like Donald Trump was compromised and they lost their boy and he done sold them out. They're going to be even more intense about it. So I was like, what's the point? I do understand why people were frustrated. But at the same time, it's just like, I don't have an expectation for Donald Trump when it comes to race. In regards to if they decide to do another 2 presidential debates, I think they have to restructure the format. I think the questions have to have a different delivery style where it's really focused on the actual substance of the issues. I think what happens is sometimes the way that the questions are posed already, it already sets up pretty much the chaos where you start having the two of them interrupt each other every 5 seconds anyway. The questions are not being asked the right way. There's not enough emphasis on the numbers and the effect. And really, I think with the questions, you got to really dig up and also dig into history and pull up the numbers and pull up and say, okay, well, you said this and blah, 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 blah. And this is what the numbers really were. You said that you were going to do this and this is what happened. You said that this wouldn't happen, but this is what's happening. I think you should put both of them in a sound booth. You're going to have to be like back in the day, like how they used to do on Ricky Lake. When they would, I don't know, it would be the girl who was sleeping with her best friend's boyfriend. And so the best friend is in the back in the sound booth and can't hear anything. And they got them with the headphones listening to some music. And the other woman's just telling all the business. Saying, yeah, I slept with her man and I'm just here to tell her that he's mine. And literally, that's what it's going to have to be for the debate. You're just going to have to put them both in a sound booth, and the only person that they will be able to hear is the moderator. Chris Wallace or whoever the moderator is. At this point, you're going to need Samuel Jackson or somebody to put their foot down. Will read the question and say, Can you tell us what you believe about blah, 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 blah? The candidate answers, then the question goes to the next candidate, and do it that way. And if they have something to say about the other, it will say, oh, well, this candidate said that you blah, 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 blah. How do you respond to that? It's literally going to have to be dumbed down to that extent in order for anybody to understand what's happening in that debate. Because, again, the temper tantrums. And, goodness, you know what was real trifling, too? I know I'm frying up the president, but I thought it was so low with the bit when he started going in on Joe Biden's kids, because I was like, sometimes I want Joe to have some fight, because I'm like, Joe, because if I was Joe, I'd be like, first of all, let's not talk children, because we could be here all day. Like, I would have fried him up on that one. But, you know, there was just some moments where I'm just like, dang. But whatever, that's another conversation. So, again, we'll see what happens, but I just felt like I was at work watching this. And if you follow me, you know I work with kids. And so it was giving me flashbacks to this one time where, you know, I had like a 5 and a 6-year-old, and they were fighting over a Lego. Literally a Lego. It was a Lego one of them found on the floor. They were fighting over whose Lego it was, when in reality it was the center. Somebody just didn't clean up very well, and it was on the floor somewhere. And so they're having this whole fight, and they're arguing, and I'm trying to get the two of them to chill. And I don't yell at kids, mainly because I don't like to look crazy in front of people. And I just remember when I was a child, whenever the teacher would yell at us, we thought that mess was so funny. You know, like in shop class, if we left all the sawdust on the floor and forgot to sweep it up, the shop guy would be like, you guys think this is a game? It's something funny? And we'd all be in the back trying to hold it together. I'm not going to be that person. But anyway, two of them are fighting, and I'm like, oh, okay, guys, let's just... give me the Lego. Just give me the Lego. I'll just hold on to it. So I did that, and then, because the two kids are arguing, Mr. Michael, he's trying to tell me. I was like, just give me the Lego. Just give it here. And so the other kid, I guess he hangs with a lot of the teenagers. He likes to hear what they say because he has like 5 or 6 siblings. And so out of nowhere, he tells the other kid, like, you know, that's why your hairline is crooked. And for some reason, that just set the other kid off, and he just cried. And you know, 5 and 6-year-olds don't cry quietly. He says, ah! That's what the debate felt like to me. And I'm at work just like, all right, I do this because the children are the future. The children are the future. And the kid in my ear just, ah! Okay, all right, come on, let's go get some juice, man. Come on, let's just get some juice. So that's the debate. Anyway, share your 2 cents. I don't see the point. I don't think we need any more of them. I think people know where they stand, but it is what it is. Anyway, share your 2 cents. I'm out. Subscribe. Do you really think about it?